Hey everybody, welcome back to the Street Parking Podcast. Today is another episode with one of our incredible street parking members who is in town to film the vault workouts with us. And today on this episode, I get to interview John Berger, better known as Fit Grandpa John, who did the vault workout with me. We filmed it already. If you're listening to this the day that it comes out, or if you're watching it, you don't know what that workout is yet, so we can't talk about the workout. Okay. But we filmed it yesterday, and John is here now to chat today, and I'm so excited to talk to you because, I mean, you're one of, I have a lot of people in the community that I love following, but you're one of my favorite people to follow.
Thank you.
Because if you haven't seen John, here's the thing. If you haven't seen John's post, what I think you should do right now is actually pause this episode. Or if you're listening to an audio, go to Instagram and find Fit Grandpa John because he's just outside. You live in Chicago, right?
Yes.
He's outside in Chicago where it's freezing in his like parka and a beanie. And he's just doing these workouts next to his swing set half the time. And I remember when you started, I was like, who is this guy? And I honestly didn't think it was going to last this long. So John is the father of another one of our members, Joanna, and that's how he found street parking.
Yes.
But he just crushes it in the cold outside in Chicago. And I was just like, this guy is badass. Like he is like as tough as they come. And so here he is. And he's also as sweet as they come. And I'm excited to chat with you.
Well, I'm very excited also.
Okay. So there's so much that we could talk about, and I'll just kind of go through a couple things so that people can get to know you. But I think you're 66 years old.
Yes.
You have 3 kids.
Yes.
And 6 grandchildren.
Yes.
I know Joanna, she lives pretty close to you, right?
She lives in New York.
But you see each other how often? Joanna is the daughter who introduced you to street parking. So, yes. And I know you guys work out together sometimes because I've seen it.
Yes.
In the posts.
Yes. Well, we get there about 3 to 4 times a year.
Okay.
The flights are pretty cheap from Chicago to New York.
Right.
So it's good. It's easily traveled there and back. So we work out in her little apartment. She's got her little setup.
And I've seen
there.
her in your yard too, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then she comes and visits because she's a school teacher. So
okay.
So she'll visit for a couple of weeks in the summertime.
Yes.
And then she does the workout.
That's probably when I've seen it, where it seems like you guys were working out together a lot for a while.
We do the daily workouts together with her husband, Chad.
So for a little bit of background, we have members come. We have 5 come at a time to record these vault workouts, and they do them with us. And John was my partner this week. But to get the opportunity to come out here, we asked people to almost like apply and send a video. Well, John's daughter, Joanna, who we're talking about, she sent a video to apply for him because she's like, he's not going to do it on his own, but you have to have my dad. And it was like immediately, oh my gosh, we have to have Fit Grandpa John come. Like that would be so amazing. And part of the reason that it's amazing is just because you're an amazing human. But also I think you're so inspiring to some of our older members or people who are not yet members or just the fitness world in general, because the fact that you're doing it at all is one thing, and then you're doing it outside. You're so consistent, you're so strong, and you're still pushing yourself, which I think is awesome. So where does that come from? Like, have you always been like that?
I've always been like that.
Your wife is pretty cool too.
Yeah, she's the same way. She's extremely competitive. So are Joanna and Chad. Well, all my children really. I don't know where it comes from. I think my parents obviously were both very competitive people. They played sports, and when I was 10 years old, my dad put me on a baseball team, and I became the captain of the team at 10 years old.
Wow.
And I remained the captain of all my baseball teams from 10 to 17, and I always loved sports, and I was always a leader. And I did traveling all-stars, and when I got out in the working world, in the corporate world, I used to play sports on the corporate teams. So
you've always been active.
Yes.
What were you doing before street parking for activity? Were you going to a regular gym? Were you going to a CrossFit gym? What was your fitness like before you started? You joined in 2019, so you've been a member for a while, like almost 4 years. But before that, what were you doing?
Before that, I just did workouts on my own, calisthenics, and I got a lot of workouts from YouTube.
Were you doing them at home, kind of similar to what you do now?
Yes. I could never really afford to go to a gym.
Okay.
So my idea was to go on YouTube and learn some workouts, and I developed a hobby of creating.
What would you
my
search
own.
on YouTube? Like, what would you type in to find stuff?
Well, it started with strength programming. Like I have certain goals. Like I want to be able. One of my goals right now is to be able to do a free handstand in the center of the room, unassisted
I can
handstand.
see you doing that after watching your warm up yesterday. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, I'm still not able to do it, but I'm almost there. It's been
Wow.
so many years, and so I'll go to YouTube and I'll search how to do that. And one of the ways is to get into a crow position and put your weight forward.
Right.
And there were so many different ways to train yourself to do that. That's just one example. But
And when did you start that? Like looking stuff up online? How old were you, or what year was it? Do you remember?
It was around 2009.
Okay.
No, about 2008.
Okay.
When I really started to work out seriously. I started running, and sometimes I would go to Export and work out with my wife.
Is that a gym?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a gym, a franchise gym
Okay.
in Chicago. But mainly I was doing running. And my goal at that time was to do a marathon. And so the first year I started running, I did 3 half marathons. And then the next year I joined some of my wife's Korean friends. They had a running group, and I ran with them, and they taught me, that they were all experienced marathon runners. So I'd run with them, and they would teach me, how to get yourself in shape to do that.
So you were 48, because it was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You were 48. What were you doing any sort of structured fitness before that? Like when your kids were young?
No, not really.
Were you
Just
still
only
playing
sport.
sports? Playing sports.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kept you active.
Yeah.
So you never had a period where you were just completely inactive. So you kept up with.
Yes, there was a period.
When was that?
Right before that, and I can't remember the year. There was a period in my life where I was overworked at work, and I was really stressed out, and I was putting in a lot of hours. And
You worked in the food service.
I worked in food service. I was a manager,
Okay.
and the particular jobs that I had at that time were very stressful. I had a lot of 30 to 40 employees.
The hours are hard
The
with
hours
that
are
too.
hard, 6 a.m. till 8 at night. A lot of catering and just brutal work that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. And I didn't do any kind of physical activity. And on my days off, I would abuse beer. And I gained a lot of weight. I shot up
This
to...
was in your 40s?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I weighed about 215 pounds.
Wow.
and
How much do you weigh right now?
160.
Wow. Okay.
And
What did your
Jennifer
wife, by the
just-
way, his wife Jen is a spunky little firecracker. What did she say to you when you were doing that? Because I can't see her not
She-
giving you a hard time about that.
she definitely gave me a hard time. She was very upset about that.
Uh-huh.
And she bugged me. She was already in Export doing some step jam and some group programs. And she begged me to go there with her because she really liked it, and she wanted me to get back in shape. And so I promised her I would, on your birthday, I'll go there and we'll do a step jam class together.
Oh.
And it started.
And that broke the seal.
That broke the seal. And from then on, I wanted to get back in shape because that class, after about 5 or 6 minutes of jumping across that step,
You were hurting.
Yeah, well, I was out of breath and I couldn't keep up. And,
Yeah.
And it was horrible. I'm like, I am really out of shape.
And then you told me, because we had some interaction through email. Well, I guess you didn't tell me. Your daughter told me. She answered the email for you. But she told me that one of your motivations around the time maybe that you started running was you didn't want to just let aging happen to you, and you wanted to be fit and healthy for your grandkids. Is that kind of what pushed you to, what made you want to start running and choose the marathon route?
To stay in shape, to get back in shape, and to lose weight.
Mm-hmm. So you were still heavy when you chose to do the marathon?
Yeah, I was still around 190 pounds.
Okay.
And I still drank beer, not like a fish like I did before, but I would drink on my days off, and I never really realized how much it was really hurting my body, and that was the main reason why I couldn't lose any weight. I could run for 20 miles, and I wasn't really losing any weight. And at work, being in the food service business, I didn't control my eating.
Right.
I would
just around food all day.
All day, and I'd be eat muffins, cookies, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was able to train for the marathons. I did the 3 half marathons in 2008, and then in 2009 I ran 2 marathons, the Rockford Marathon and the Chicago Marathon. The Rockford Marathon I didn't finish.
Why? What happened?
My legs gave out, and when we were training.
How far into it?
Maybe about probably around 18 miles.
Oh, okay.
19 miles, and I couldn't. I just took a shortcut to the finish line. I just couldn't, because that marathon there was a lot of hills, and I didn't train for that.
That's different.
And so I just quit. But then the Chicago Marathon. So then I talked to the running club, and they were trying to tell me what to do. And so my first Chicago Marathon in 2009, I started out in the they call them corrals, and so when our corral was ready, the running club took off, and I tried to keep up with them, and I didn't keep up with them very long. And I'm like, "Where are you guys going?" And they all lost me.
Wow.
And I was pretty upset. So I'm running by myself. And when I saw the digital sign 15-mile marker, I turned one of the street corners, and my legs just shut down.
This was at a different marathon.
Yeah, this was the Chicago Marathon.
Okay.
My first Chicago Marathon in 2009. My legs literally stopped, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I almost started crying because I had been training all year since like April to do this. This was in October. And I said, what are you crying for? You can still walk. So I started walking. It took me 4 hours to walk the rest of the 9 miles to finish it. 11 miles or whatever.
But you finished it this time.
But
This time you did not take a shortcut.
Didn't take a shortcut. I finished it. It took me 4 hours. And when I saw the finish line, when I was getting towards the end, I said, I'm not walking across that finish line. So it took everything I had to run like about 200 feet to cross it in a little bit of a jog.
Wow.
But it was horrible. And then after that, I did some research, and I figured out and talked to the club, and I figured out everything I did wrong. I didn't eat properly. I didn't have the right energy things in my pocket. I was eating the gummy things, whatever they were.
Okay.
And I overpaced. That was the main thing. I tried to keep up with the running group. So I figured it all out. I ate differently on the next year in 2010. By the way, that took over 6 hours to do that. Finish that 2009 marathon. So in 2010, I finished in, it was 5 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
And because I, researched and I ate right, and instead of the gummy bears, I took dried apricots,
nice.
A pocket full of dried apricots, which is more potassium than bananas, by the way. And so I kept a steady pace this time. I didn't overpace at the beginning. Matter of fact, I underpaced it at the beginning. For the first 9 miles, they recommend that I underpace.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I picked it. The only mistake I made was when you're running these things, there's people giving you these sponge things, and they're giving you water and all this. And towards the end of the marathon, the temperature went up to about 75 degrees, and that's pretty hot for a marathon.
And it's humid in Chicago.
Yeah, it was a little humid, but the sun was out, and it was 75 degrees, and it was getting, so I kept putting, especially the sponge things, and it washed off all my Vaseline.
Oh,
so you're chafing, you're walking. I was a big Vaseline fan because you need it all over your body when you do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're really hurting. You do not want to be chafing and doing a marathon. And then after that, I didn't do it anymore.
So, it was your wife's running club, because I think running is one of those things, and we see it every year in like the new year, right? Where people want to get fit and they don't know what else to do, so they just start running.
Yep.
And is that kind of what your experience was, or did you have a specific reason that you chose running in the marathons?
Well, I always loved running.
Okay.
And I used to, when I did sports, I used to run 3 miles religiously to keep in shape for basketball and volleyball and softball and that. And that was my way of staying in shape. I never really, and I did calisthenics, push-ups and squats.
So you were comfortable with it. You knew it would work, and you knew you needed to do something. And the nice thing about running is the barrier to entry is nothing. You just put on your shoes and you go outside and you run.
Yep.
There's not a lot to, obviously you learned a lot about competing and running with some of the stuff that you're talking about, but anyone can just go outside and at least walk or jog.
And it doesn't cost anything.
Right, exactly. So, but your daughter and her husband both were trainers. They were CrossFit coaches. And this was coaches. When you were doing all these marathons? Did that come after?
That came after.
Okay. And so they became CrossFit coaches. And
as soon as they got married, they were both into CrossFit, right?
This was not too long after your marathon season. So after that last marathon that you did you keep running, or did you start doing some of the more calisthenic stuff before your daughter?
Chad made some comments about how long distance running isn't good for your body.
Did you feel that yet? Did you have any issues with like your knees or hips or feet or anything?
No.
Okay.
No, I never had any injuries.
Okay.
Up to that point, because I always was a big yoga fan, and I used to when I was a teenager and read yoga books and do yoga poses, and I love inversions, and so I would do yoga stretching and yoga poses before I ran. So I already kind of knew how
you were taking care of your body.
I was taking care of my body. Yeah. Except for the beer thing. But,
okay, so when you were doing the marathons, you were still doing the beers.
Yeah.
Are you still doing the beers now?
No.
Okay, we'll get into when that went away.
Yeah.
Well, you let me know when we're at that part of the story and how that all happened. So Joanna and Chad, they become CrossFit coaches, and they encourage you to do something other than just running.
Yes. They showed me articles, and Chad is he's a physical ed teacher at his middle school.
Okay.
And so he knows everything. And so it started where I visited their CrossFit box, and I did a workout there, brutal workout, by the way. And then after that, after I went home, I liked it, even though it was hard.
Had you ever done anything quite like that before?
Like that before. No.
Do you remember what the workout was? Like the movements or anything?
One of the work, I don't know if it was the first workout I did in there, but one of the movements was walking lunges with holding a kettlebell by my ear.
Okay.
Oh, it was just terrible.
Especially if you've been running, because a lot of times runners will have really bad shoulder mobility because you're just here.
I have terrible shoulder, and I have
and
I have bad posture and all that. I was so sore for like 3 days after that.
Okay. So new challenge accepted. You liked that.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't, get me a challenge. But, so after that, I would bug Joanna, could you send me some workouts? And some of the workouts she sent would be the CrossFit workouts, but she would mix in what are the military workouts called? The Chad and the
Some of the hero workouts.
Murph.
She was sending you hero workouts?
Yeah.
Jeez, Joanna.
Yeah. She
knows you, though. She knows you need to be punished a little bit to enjoy it.
Well, and then we also started doing some CrossFit workouts and compete with workouts and what was your time and all that.
Oh, that's so fun. And now you're really hooked.
Yeah.
Because you're so competitive.
Now I'm hooked because now I have
And you
to
were
beat
doing
Joanna.
that at your home. Is it the same home that you live in now? Mm-hmm. Just out in your yard?
I would do in my yard. Well, I love working out outside.
Yeah, obviously, I think that's great.
Yeah, obviously.
Most of your videos are outside.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're inside.
Sometimes I'm inside. Or I constructed a pull-up bar in the garage, so I do,
right.
Because since it's higher. Well, I had to move up my pull-up bar on the jungle gym outside because after seeing Alex's toes to bar video, I realized I had to have the pull-up bar higher.
Higher so you could kick.
So I could kick, yeah.
John, do you have friends your age who work out the way that you do?
No.
Do you have friends your age that think you're nuts? Do you have friends your age at all?
I don't have any friends.
Or your siblings. You have 7 siblings. What do they have to say about it?
They all think I'm crazy. So
have you ever convinced any of them to try it, or?
I've tried, but
it's hard.
Yeah, they're not going to do it.
What do you think it is? Because obviously your siblings had the same upbringing that you had. What do you think it is that has allowed you to move past where most people, when they start to age, most people when they're 48 years old and are overweight, they might do some stuff to try to lose weight. They might clean up their nutrition or take up, some.
Quit eating chocolate and cookies. And
right. People will do stuff for sure. But usually once you get to a certain age, people are less willing to try new things that challenge them physically the way that you are. Like, what do you think it is that's allowed you, and I would say your wife too, to be like, I want to do a handstand. I want to, the overhead lunges were hard for me. So now I have to fix that. I think most people have the opposite. They're like, I'm just too old for this, is where most people go.
It's true. My last job, I worked in a convent. I did their food service. And all the people that I served there were all elderly. Mm-hmm. And I had a huge office about the size of this room. And I used to do my street parking workouts in there.
Wow.
And I had some dumbbells there, and I put a pull-up bar across the doorway, and the catering manager stopped. I think
I remember this.
He stopped by there one day, and I was doing kettlebell swings with a concrete block because I didn't have a kettlebell.
I do remember this.
I bought one from Home Depot. And I'm doing kettlebell swings, and he stops by and he goes, "What are you doing? You're going to hurt yourself." And I go, "No, I got this." And he goes, at your age, you're supposed to be going the opposite way. And I thought, what, is that what people really think?
I think they do.
As you get older, you're supposed to take it easy.
Yeah.
And I don't even think like that.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, have you ever pondered for yourself, like, why am I this way?
Well, I know that I love life, and I want to be active in life, and I want to feel younger, and I want to be around for my grandchildren when they grow up and get married, and I want to be able to do all the things. And I can't, for example, when I was at my daughter's house in Texas, we all went to the park, and I had to do my toast bar program. I wanted to get it in, so we went over to the monkey bars, and I was doing my toast bar workout. And my 10-year-old grandson, he's like, "I want to do that." So, they're on the monkey bars and climbing across them, and I just want to be able to, experience all the things with them. and not be, doing it with a cane and coming behind them,
Yeah.
That's one thing. And I've always been so competitive, and I'm kind of a small person. So when I was doing sports when I was 17, I was on the All-Star game at my baseball tournament, and I won the MVP. And the Detroit Tigers baseball organization they had scouts there, and they invited me to a camp to try out.
That's awesome.
And of course, after the camp, they're like, "Don't call it, we'll call you."
But still, that's such a cool experience.
But it was a cool experience.
What a cool story.
And I don't know why I've always been like that, but I do know that if I set these goals, that I want to do, like the unassisted handstand in the center of the
You
room.
like to have something you're working toward all the time.
Yes.
So the marathon, it started out with that's such an
Yes.
easy one where it's like, okay, I'm gonna, whether it's a 5K or a half marathon, somebody just pick something to work toward,
Right.
to help build consistency.
Yes.
That has a date on the calendar or whatever. And then ever since then, you've noticed, I got to have one specific thing that I'm working on. So right now, I know you said the handstand, but you also told me that you're working on improving your toes to bar.
Working on that. I want to be able to, well, I should be able to do right now at least 8 toes to bar.
I love that you just go,
before-
I should be able to do 8 toes to bar.
Yeah, but the recent workout where there was like, I think it was 60 toes to bar. I don't know if these workouts are getting more brutal or what's going on here, but I think it was 60 toes to bar. But in like only the second round, I couldn't get 8 toes to bar, and I'm like, something's wrong. I've been practicing this, so I have to regroup. I was actually talking to Alex about that.
She's going to help you out.
Yeah. But when I first started street parking, I couldn't do a toes to bar. And I talked to Joanna about it, and Chad, and they're
You guys
like,
should have your own reality TV show. You guys
well,
are
they're
so
like
awesome.
whipping out these toes, especially Chad. He's like a toes to bar expert. He's got the bent knees, and he's kicking it up there. And and I finally I figured out how to do a couple, and I did them in one of my videos, and Joanna commented on the video and said, "Oh, well, that's great toes to bar, Dad."
Aw.
And but this was prior to the toes to bar program that you guys put out in the extra program.
Yeah, I think because I think that was like early 2020 where we put that out, or somewhere around that time when Alex moved here.
And I just kind of tried to figure it out by myself. But after watching Alex's video, following that, I'm able to do it. And I don't like to do the bent knees ones. I like to
like to do the pretty ones.
I like to do this, and I don't like to do. Well, one reason is I don't want to be on that bar swinging around. I don't want it because it's too hard on my arms.
On your shoulders.
Yeah, I can't. I don't even want to attempt a kipping pull up.
We were yesterday. We were both hanging from that bar to try to open our shoulders up before the workout.
Yeah, well, I saw in one of my yoga books that if you just hang from the bar with your arms by your ears, it'll kind of align your shoulders. I read that somewhere. And so that's why in my warm-up, if I think about it, I try to do the exact same warm-up every day.
Yeah, we're going to get to your warm-up because I definitely wrote that in my notes of something that I wanted to ask you about because it's so awesome. So you joined street parking in July of 2019, and you had been doing some workouts from Joanna for a little bit before that. And how did you get, I mean, because you're very consistent at posting, and like most, the older generation, you guys, I mean, I didn't even have social media until I was an adult, so all of us, it's something that we've had to learn, but I think I just love that you are so involved in the community and you love posting your workouts. Why do you do that?
I do it because I feel like I can inspire people.
I mean, you inspire me.
Thank you. You inspire me. And that is an avenue for me to inspire people. I've always been a leader. I've always been a manager at all my jobs. I've always been the captain of every team I was on, and that's just who I am. And since nobody works out with me and I work out by myself, that's a way for me to influence people.
Yeah.
And to for if I can help somebody stay consistent, then it makes me feel good.
I think you do. I think you influence a lot of the people in our community.
I stopped posting for about 3 or 4 weeks for whatever reason.
Did people start reaching out to you?
That was, yes. I have people. Are
you okay?
Direct
Where's John?
Were you in the hospital? Direct messaging me, so I had to start reposting again.
No.
But when I first started street parking, Joanna said, "Okay, well, I'm going to set up your Instagram account for you. I'll fill out your profile, and because I didn't know how to do it, I don't go on Instagram, don't even know what it is. I knew about Facebook, but I didn't know about Instagram. So she set it all up, and we did a video, and she had me download a video editing app. And showed me how to edit my videos.
I mean, you do a pretty good job. Oh, I got to find you that one where I added the music to it.
You have to find me the one you added music to because my favorite song came on.
Okay. I picked your favorite song?
No, I had my favorite song on, but I always take the sound off of my videos because I don't want Instagram to be, and I don't want to be, adding that. It's a lot of work.
It is. It is a lot of work.
I mean, even though I try to cut down how long it takes me to do it, but I don't even add music.
Yeah. No, it's
perfect. Extra work. Because I got a message from Instagram saying they're going to take down one of my videos because I had the radio on in the background.
The worst.
And
so you started posting, and I imagine that, did she tell you, like, hey, tag this or use this hashtag or whatever so that we could all find you? Because you have to have a pretty good street parking membership following you now. Yeah.
Well, I think that's hashtags where you put pound street parking. Yes. Okay. I didn't know what a hashtag was. Yes. And she's like, well, Dad, hashtags are this, and she showed me street parking consistency is key, and she had me type and put it in the notes app.
And now you just copy and paste it.
You just copy and paste it. She showed me how to do that.
Oh, what a good daughter.
And she said, that's how you get followers. I go, followers? What's that? She's like, well, people will follow you if, they like your videos, and when you put hashtag this and that, then people from that, I don't know how she described it. Like, one of my hashtags is hashtag yoga because I love yoga.
Yeah, so people who are looking at yoga stuff, they'll find you.
Right. So I figured that out, and so I have quite a few hashtags there. One is Dad's shoes because my favorite shoe, my go-to shoe for all the years and for the running is New Balance.
Oh, yeah, those are Dad's shoes.
Because they have 4 triple E width. And the other companies like Nike and that,
too narrow.
Yeah, they're too narrow. And I have a very wide foot.
So do I, actually.
Well, I don't know what other company has.
Maybe I need to check out some New Balances.
Well, one day, because I never knew anything about this Dad shoes thing, so I was with my daughter-in-law, Rebecca, in the back seat of Alan's car, and we were going camping, and my son, Alan. And I go, by the way, Becca, what's a Dad shoe? And she looks down at my feet, and she goes, those. So I guess white New Balance tennis shoes.
You're like a cool dad, though. You're definitely a cool dad.
I try to be.
So you've been a member for 4 years, almost now.
4 years. Mm-hmm.
And what's your schedule like now? Are you doing just the daily workouts? Do you do the extra programs? How many days a week? What time of day? Like all of that.
Yeah, a typical day is I get up and I do I do ride share now in my retirement.
Okay.
So I'll get up early and I'll grab a gallon of coffee, fill up my thermos, and go do ride share for 4 hours.
Okay.
Then I'll come back and I'll prepare my brunch around 10 o'clock. And then I'll do chores around the house, and around 3 o'clock, I'll start my workout. And then after I'm all done with the working out, then I'll go back out and do ride share.
Okay.
So I'm able to fit in my chores and my workout in the middle of the day. And it's a routine that's been working very well.
How many days a week do you do that?
6.
Okay. You're 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And is it always just the main workout, or do you ever dip into some of the extra programs?
I do the extra programs. My goal since about the middle of last year is to really, well, I don't want to say force myself, but since I have these goals that I've set for myself, to do the extra programs. And I've been doing them after the daily workout, because I figure I want to go, because in the daily workout, it's always been since day one that I want to be able to use the men's suggested weight. On the
Yeah, we talked
dumbbells,
about this yesterday.
which is 40 pounds. And when I first started, Mr. Aggressive over here, I was trying to use 25 and 30 pound dumbbells to do these workouts, and it was very hard. And Joanna was like, "Dad, our elder population at the box, they only."
You didn't want to
I'm
hear
like,
about the elder population.
Elder population? She's like, "Well, you should step back and go 20 and build up from there, and then go 25 and then go 30." I'm like, "I don't want to do that. I should be able to do blah blah blah." And then I finally realized after a few muscle injuries here that I should do that. And then I worked up to the 30s, because one of my favorite two movements is, yesterday's the clean and jerk. And,
you just gave him that's.
The devil press.
You told us you love the devil press.
I love the devil press. And there was one workout about a year ago. There was about 30 devil presses, or 20 or something in each round. And I forced myself to do those with the 30 pounds out in my backyard, and it was brutal. But it took me about a year and a half to maybe longer to work up from 30 pounds to 35 pounds. So,
and you probably noticed that some workouts it's totally fine, like a deadlift versus a push press. It's a completely different thing.
Now with some experience, I've realized that I can do certain things with heavier dumbbells, and then if I have to, I'll step back and I'll use a 25-pound dumbbell if there's a lot of reps. Or if I know that I'm going to do an extra program after the daily workout, then I'll cut I don't have to do 35.
Right.
I can use a 25.
So you have been using the 40s a little bit, though. You told me.
I used the 40 pounds for the first time in a workout a couple of weeks ago. And
do you remember what the workout was?
I don't remember the workout, but I know the total squats were 60.
You love squats, though.
I love squats. I love squats and deadlifts.
Yeah.
But I was pretty sore the next day after using those 40s and doing those 60.
How proud of yourself were you, though? You were pumped.
Very proud of myself that I was able to do.
You've come so far.
Yeah.
And I think that just says so much. Well, there's multiple things that if you're putting all the pieces together of what we've been talking about so far. So you did allow yourself in your 40s to get out of shape, and I mean, for your body size, 210 or 250 pounds, that's a lot of weight on your body.
I have a huge beer belly.
Yeah. So you haven't always been consistent. There was a period where you let that go a little bit, and then you found it again, and you were motivated by being healthy for your grandchildren and just not letting the aging process happen to you. But then even though you had done several marathons and half marathons when you started CrossFit and street parking, that didn't automatically mean just because you could complete a marathon that you could grab the 40-pound dumbbells and go for it. It was a whole new thing that you had to almost feel like you were starting over. So I think one of the things that frustrates people, whether they're older or not, is they feel like, well, I used to do this, so I should be able to just jump right into it. And their ego puts them in a place where they get so frustrated because they can't do the weight that they think they should be able to do or that they want to do, that they quit before they even allow themselves to build up to it. It bothers them so much that it's harder for them than they expected it to be. And so I think people just hearing, not only did you get stronger, you're older now than you were when you started 4 years ago, but you're stronger now.
Stronger now.
You know, and you can get stronger after 55 or after 50, and you can get fitter after 45 if you've let yourself go. And I think like a lot of your friends, like, or that the person that worked in the convent with you, people have this like arbitrary, whether it's 40 or 50 or whatever number they have in their head, that once you hit this age, everything has to go downhill.
Yeah, because
and
you're
that's not true.
And the big thing is injuries.
Right.
And when I first started doing street parkings consistently, I would push the envelope and use too heavy of dumbbells, or I would try to do pull-ups with weight added on my back, things like that. And I would be injuring myself.
Yeah.
Then I would have to step back, heal the injury, and then build back up. But injuries is a huge deal, and it can stop a person, but it's not going to stop me.
Right.
And my first major injury was my left knee injury doing lunges in a workout, and I didn't injure it during the workout, but the next day my knee swelled up, and it took about 6 months for it to heal. And then once I got it healed, I was fine. And around that time, I stopped doing box jumps because I kept tripping and hitting the box. And so I started jumping over a stick.
Yes,
a
that's what you do
PVC
still
stick.
now.
Yeah, well, not yet. I injured my right knee. Even worse than the left knee.
When? How long ago?
About almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
Now. So I haven't jumped maybe not that long, a year and a half, 2 years. You haven't seen me jumping over a stick.
So what do you do
since
now?
That injury. I do step-ups.
Great.
I'm afraid of lunges, and since I injured that knee, and I refused to go to the doctor for whatever reason. I just want to heal it myself. And I'm afraid to do lunges anymore because I don't want to, but I've injured it twice since then, because when the first time I thought it was healed, I came back too soon, and I did a jumping, rather than jumping over a stick, I jumped up on a step for a workout. And the next day it swelled up, just like the original injury. I was so upset. So I stepped back, and then I injured it again. I forget what I was doing. It was a jumping move. And then I mentioned it to my primary care physician on my yearly checkup.
Yeah, how did that go?
I had. Well, she said, just don't do any jumping on it.
Right.
And I know what it was. There was a workout. I thought it was better, and there was a workout that had 400 meter runs in it. And then the next day it swelled up after that. Because during the runs, I was fine. I didn't feel any pain in it at all, and it swelled up, and I was highly upset. But what I wanted to mention was, at the time of the injury, I couldn't do burpees because I couldn't do the jumping in. So I developed the burpee slide. And Joanna got a big kick out of that. She's like, I love your burpee slide. I'll show it to you one day. Yeah, it's a burpee slide.
What I think is...
So I'm able to do the movement of the day and get credit for it. That's the beauty of street parking.
And what I think is cool to talk about, because what some people might hear when you're talking about these injuries and things are reasons why they shouldn't do it when they're older. He injured his knee and he injured this, and maybe some of that stuff could have been prevented by not going as hard or jumping as high or whatever. But what do you say to that? So if you had a friend who was like, well, I would do it, but I don't want to get injured, what would you say to an older person who that's like their main reason why they don't want to exercise, is because they're worried about getting hurt?
Well, warming up is so very important. Education is important also.
Let's talk about your warm up since you brought it up again, and we've hinted at it a few times. So you have we were warming up for our vault workout yesterday in the garage, and everybody in there was so impressed by this warm up routine that you had. And I, made a joke. This is the most thorough warm up we've ever seen in this garage. And I warm up for a long time too, because ever since I tore my ACL, which by the way, I wasn't old when I got injured, and I got, it's not an age thing.
It has nothing to do with age.
Right. But ever since then, and ever since the pregnancies and stuff, I have to warm up a lot, for a long time too. But how did you develop this warm up, and how long have you been doing it, and why do you feel it's so important for you?
I've always done, since I was a child, literally in elementary school, I've always been a big fan of yoga.
Yeah.
And I studied yoga poses. And I used
That's
to
such a strange
practice.
thing to get into as a
Well,
child.
my friend's mother was, she did headstands every day.
And you saw that.
I saw that, and I wanted to do it, and I practiced it, and I did it. And ever since then, I was literally like in 7th grade. And I've been doing headstands ever since. I just loved it. I don't know, for whatever. I love inversions for whatever reason. But I would always do yoga stretching and a little bit of like jumping jacks to warm up before my sports games. And I believed it always helped me stave off injuries from playing sports. And since I already had the yoga thing, there was a point where I was doing Ramwad. Joanna said, "You got to do this Ramwad thing. It's really great."
If people are listening and you don't know what Ramwad is, it's kind of like the street parking maintenance stuff, where it's like a little bit of yoga, a little bit of stretching, and some of that kind of stuff, mobility work.
So I did that religiously. I just loved it because it incorporated a lot of yoga. And there was poses in there that I never practiced before. And it did help me with my street parking. So I would spend literally 45 minutes doing Ramwad before my street parking.
How did you feel like it helped? Like, give examples of how it helped you with your street parking. What did you feel?
Well, a good example is squats. So if I'm really sore from a squat workout, the next day I can get into one of those positions, and you can just feel it stretching all of the muscles that are ruined from the squat. And they teach you that if you just breathe properly and don't, I forget how they put it, but don't think about the pain. And the length of time that you're in that pose, the pain actually starts going away. And so that the blood's getting pumped into, so literally you're kind of not using the roller anymore. You can do these stretching poses, and that'll help you. So the next day you're actually, even though you're,
so it's helping you with your recovery.
That's right.
Okay. And so now you have this routine. Is it the same every day? And how long does it usually take you to warm up? How much time do you spend?
About 20 minutes.
Okay.
I have it's the exact same routine every day.
To give you guys a visual, I mean, we're talking about like straddles and wall walks and all of this. I mean, it was really cool to watch, and I think people learned a lot from it. But you think that this is something, and I agree with you, that can be important and useful for everybody, but is one of the main reasons that you've been able to maintain your consistency as you get older.
Yes, it is the main reason. Without that, I don't think I would be able to move up in the weights and meet the goals that I have. And a good example is my wall walk hold. That's in my stretching. That's in my warm-up routine because it warms up the shoulders. And my goal in my my warm-up routine is to touch all the body parts. And from Ramwad and my yoga studies, I know which. So I'm going to be doing a down dog.
You know what we should do? We should have you film the whole thing and send it to us so we can put it on the Street Parking YouTube, and the members can do it along with you.
Yeah, and it's So with memorizing that workout, it'll save time.
Right. I have the same thing. I have like my warm up that I do that's the same all the time.
And it really, because if you're gonna one thing about yoga is if you do one stretch like a Superman, then you're gonna do a hollow hold.
You got to
do
get both sides.
You got to get both sides.
Right.
And that's my goal in that.
And I think honestly, like if you're a member who's older, or if you're a member who wants to encourage your older parents or whatever to start, I think a really cool place to start would be to just do that.
Just do yoga.
Because if it's somebody who's, whether they're older or not, if it's a person who hasn't been active for a while and they have a job where they sit all day long, like loosening them up for a few weeks or a month or whatever, and just having them do some of that stuff first before trying to get them to do wall balls or jumping or burpees or any of that stuff would be a great place for them to start. And a great intro, and then they have that, and then it's like, okay, cool, we finished that part today. Now let's do this half of this little shift workout over here, or one of these more than nothing workouts. But I think people might be more open to trying some of that stuff and the stretching and the mobility, and they're going to feel so much better, and it's less intimidating and all of that. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're not having your 70-year-old mom do wall walks, but some of the other stuff. So I think looking into, if you're a member, looking into some of the maintenance stuff and just starting there and introducing that stuff before worrying about the intensity. Yeah,
that's all really great. The mobility routines in there. I've done some of those. Mm-hmm. The time factor is a big deal for me.
Yep.
So if the routine is 12 arm circles one way, 12 arm circles the other way, if I'm in a pinch for time, then I'll only do 6.
Great.
But it's still the same warm up.
Right. I want to talk to you about you said that you do ride share like Uber.
Yeah, I do Uber.
Do you ever talk to the people?
Yes.
I can't imagine you not chatting with these people. Do you ever talk to them about fitness or health or any of that stuff? Mm-hmm. How does that go? I mean, again, should be a reality show because it would be amazing.
Oh, it's quite an experiment in human reaction. This Uber, one elderly person that I picked up, very intelligent, highly educated person. She was going to get her hip checked by her doctor or something like that.
People just tell you everything in those cars.
Yeah, sometimes. And I don't know, somehow right away we got on the subject of exercise. Uh-huh. Or she was going for rehab or something like that. And I mentioned what I do for my exercise program. And she's like, oh, what do you do? And I described to her, I told her a little bit about street parking and how I use the dumbbells and what my goals are and all that. She goes, you don't have to do all of that. You can just, do walking a half a mile every day, and you'll be in just as good a shape, and your heart will be fine, just like, and I know because my doctor tells me, and blah, 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 blah.
What did you say, John?
I said, no, that's not true. I have to do what I'm doing. I don't have a choice. She goes, oh, you do have a choice, and let me tell you. And so the reason why, and I still couldn't convince her that I don't have a choice, because the choice is I'm never gonna make my goals,
right?
If I don't continue doing this, and I still want to be able to do 10 pull-ups, 10 strict pull-ups, and I'm not there yet. And so,
do you find that one of the things that I find that most people associate exercise with a form of punishment, like the only reason that you would ever exercise is because you have to lose weight, or you like she's saying have to, where your version of have to is because you enjoy it so much that you have to, because it's what you love and brings you joy and allows you to live your life to the fullest. That's the have to for you, where when most people say, I have to work out, what they mean is, I don't want to, and I have to, like a child that has to eat their veggies or something like that, and it's really unfortunate that that's how most people's brains, how most people think about fitness.
Well, most people don't want pain.
Right.
They live their life to stay out of pain. That's why they take pills.
Yeah. And that takes me back to the injury thing where I asked you, what would you say to somebody? Because what I always tend to remind people is there is no such thing as a life that's free from pain or injury, really. Right. So you're either uncomfortable all the time because you're so stiff and you're weak and your joints are, haven't been used. And so you're uncomfortable all the time, and you're more likely to get injured just doing something benign like carrying your groceries or picking up a heavy box. You're way more likely to, at some point, you're going to get injured in your life. Like it is just going to happen. Yes. At some point, as we age, we're all going to have nagging aches and pains, and those can either be because you've sat still for too long or because you've done so much that stuff just happens, and there's no way to avoid it. And like what you're saying is people spend their whole lives trying to avoid it, and really what they're avoiding is so much good stuff and so much fun. And it's really fitness to me when I hear you talk about it, and when I watched you do it yesterday, it's play for you.
Yeah, this is replacing my sports, because my love of basketball and volleyball, I really can't do it anymore because it's for the younger guys. If I tried to
That's a lot of changing direction and sprinting and jumping.
If I tried to get on a basketball court, I'd be in traction. Well, with the younger guys, they want to just kill you.
They just knock you over.
Yeah, they were doing that when I was playing.
Right.
Imagine it now. So this has allowed me to kind of, it's a sport for me.
How do you choose your goals? So how do you choose, all right, this is what I'm going to work on next? You do the daily workouts, but then you always have the one thing that's extra that you're focused on at the time. How do you choose that stuff?
Well, I chose it because I saw somebody else do it.
Okay.
On YouTube, or somebody has challenged me. But I've always wanted to do for years unassisted handstand in the center of the room. And I still can't do it. And I know it's shoulders and abs.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it before you're 70 for sure.
Oh yeah. I'm almost there. I can come away from the wall, and I've been practicing more the crow and I actually have a follower on Instagram that's trying to do an unassisted handstand.
Oh, you guys can be training buddies.
Don't tell Jennifer. But I made a suggestion about the crow position, and I also made a suggestion about a yoga person that I used to follow, who has a video on that subject. Very good video, by the way, and it's about doing a tuck hold before, and learning how to get the center of your body, the front of your body, rather than in trying to force the back of your leg, jumping, trying to jump into it. You need that strength of your abs
to hold still long enough. Yes.
And you also need your straight arm strength. So so that's a perfect example of a person just throwing themselves up against the wall, because that's what I used to do.
They just and the wall catches you.
And thinking that after 3 weeks you're going to be able to do an unassisted handstand. Doesn't work like that. No. I tried that for years and never. So education is a big deal.
So you either get challenged or you see something, you're like, that's cool, I want to do that. One of the ways that I choose things that I'm going to work on is I'll notice something that I hate and I don't want to do it at all. And I make myself do that. Because I don't want to. I mean, I just turned 40 this last year, and I've done a lot of really physically challenging things in my life up to this point, more than most people. But I don't want to get too comfortable. So, and maybe you're a little bit like that too, where I could be like, oh, I already did this. I competed this and I had 3 babies and like, I don't need to like make myself so uncomfortable. Like I already did all that. But then that's when you start just getting wouldn't be sedentary or anything like that, but you just don't want to get too comfortable. Well, there's always growth to happen.
And you have to have growth and you have to challenge your muscles. Otherwise you won't.
And your mind too.
And your mind too.
Yes.
A good mind exercise is some of the breathing exercises.
You got to do some of the breathing yesterday.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. By the way, everyone.
We put John in the ice bath yesterday.
Yeah, the ice bath barrel plunge with Julian because it's not a pleasant experience.
But you did it. I mean, so many people would be like, nah, that's too much for me or whatever, but always open to those experiences. And I think that's what fitness allows you to, as you age, you can say yes to so many more things than most people your age.
Yeah.
You can say yes.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I wanted to ask you about is I know you have this connection now with your daughter. Do any of your other children, do the other 2 work out with you guys at all?
Yes, Alan will work out with us.
Okay.
Kathleen, when I was in Texas for 3 months, she was like, Dad, maybe you could help me do some workouts, and I'm like, I got the thing for you. And so we did about 6 workouts there at the beginning over a span of a couple of weeks. And it felt good because I knew I could tell right away what she's capable of. Mm-hmm. So like we did step ups and holding a kettlebell, that kind of thing. And when we first started doing it, she's like, what do you mean that's the first set or something like that? She was a little upset. She thought she was done.
Like 4 more rounds.
Yeah. So they'll do it.
So how is that for you to be able to connect with your kids with something that you enjoy so much?
Oh, I think they're very proud of me, and they say it.
I mean, obviously, the way that Joanna talks about you.
Yeah. And all of my children and my grandchildren too, they're very proud of me.
How old are your grandchildren?
So Bryson is the oldest. He's 15.
Okay.
No, he's 14. Aubrey's 12. Liam's 10. Connor is 5. Russell is 7. And Theodore is 4.
Is there only one girl?
I pulled that off. Only one girl.
Oh.
She's my favorite granddaughter.
Of course. Oh, wow. And I mean, like, what a cool thing to see for them to see you. I was talking, maybe it was with Damien when I was interviewing him yesterday, but one of the greatest things that we can give our kids is just normalizing a healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
And I know when I was growing up, I was under the impression that once you get older and once you have kids, you just gain weight. And I think a lot of people think that. It's like, oh, yeah, when you get older, you gain weight and you don't do X, Y, and Z anymore.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I had some friends in high school whose parents were very fit and active that I had ever seen that before. And my parents weren't super overweight or anything like that, but they definitely didn't exercise, and our nutrition was not great. But I had some friends in high school whose parents were going to the gym and
playing tennis.
One of them, his mom was a spinning instructor. Oh. And you just see that and you're like, I didn't even know that this was like an option or a possibility. And so you're giving your grandchildren this, oh yeah, like when you're older, you can do, my grandpa. And I think that's why your kids are obviously doing so well and they also enjoy fitness, is because it's so normal to them. You've always done it their whole life.
All of my children were figure skaters.
Oh, wow.
Children. Yeah, they grew up figure skaters from when they could basically walk.
That's really cool.
We had them on skates. So Alan's a little upset because he always wanted to be in hockey.
I played hockey when I was little.
Oh, don't tell Alan that.
Sorry,
Dad,
Alan.
Why didn't you put me in hockey? You made me a figure skater.
It was just easier to take you to the figure skating practice.
Yeah, well, they were on, Alan actually tried out for, he passed the test, and the next step would have been to go to the Olympics.
Wow.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the test, but he was very good.
Wow.
And, for us as parents, keeping them in an organized sport like that, they were on a figure skating team, so they would compete, and it was a way for us to travel around the country with their figure skating team.
Yeah.
And all three of them were on the same team, the Chicago Skates. And we used to go around and compete. And Joanna and Alan, actually, Kathleen got out of it, but Joanna and Alan kind of did solo competitions where they would compete against other skaters solely.
That's really cool.
Really cool.
And I think so. You've modeled that you can do anything when you're, but you've also modeled with the way that you set goals for yourself and overcome stuff and keep pushing yourself. You've modeled that mindset as well for them, which that goes into every area of life.
Well, they know that it's possible to stay in shape when they reach retirement age. The age is only a number, and a muscle is a muscle. That's what even Chad told me one time that I forget, or maybe it was Joanna. I forget who said it. It was almost like, well, you'll never be able to get a 40-pound dumbbell or something like that.
You're like, I'll show you, Chad.
Well,
and now you have them.
Well,
you did it.
I believe that a muscle is a muscle. If you challenge your muscle, no matter how old you are, I think I'm right about this, that it will grow if you have the proper nutrition. And I think I've proved that.
We can't end the podcast. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I did want to ask you about what your nutrition is like, and we need to hear the story about when we stopped with the beers.
So,
and why that happened.
It happened because of my goals, and because of street parking, and because of the things that I saw from street parking coaches. I quit watching YouTube and I focused on you folks, and I picked up things here and there. One of them was the nutrition, and it was something that you said, that if you want 6-pack abs, look at your diet. Don't, and that's the reason we don't incorporate all this ab work in our routines, because if you want to lose weight on your stomach, it's nutrition. I thought, well, I kind of knew that, but let me try that. And then I looked into my diet a little bit more seriously, and then I also realized that once I started studying diet more, I always kind of knew about diet, but I didn't want to go there because
once you know, now you know, and you have no excuse. It's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. And being exposed, because I just retired recently, to all that food.
Yes.
But once I started doing the plate method and the palm method, and only eating certain foods and stopping the processed foods and the sugar and the flour, and stopping I cut down way down on the beer so I wouldn't have a hangover, so I could do these workouts. So that was gradually being weaned off. But then when I stopped it completely and went 6-7 months without beer, it changed my life. I felt like a little kid again inside.
Wow.
I feel like, I don't feel like I'm 66. I feel the same way I felt when I was a teenager. And it's because I stopped alcohol and I started eating right. And obviously, the heavy weights and the heavy workouts that are really, I say the word brutal, but I don't want to say it too loud because I want to encourage people to work out.
Right.
But as soon as I stopped the beer and started eating right, and because I was still 180 pounds even doing street parking workouts, but it's because I would have 2 beers every night, and I was still eating cookies, but once I stopped that, immediately dropped down to 160 pounds.
Wow. What's immediately, like how long?
Like a month.
Wow.
I'm not even exaggerating.
And nothing else. So your workout stayed the same, everything, you just kind of cut out some of the sweets and stopped drinking the beer.
Yep. Exactly. And I'll never forget a comment that Alan told me one time. It was during this period when I was dropping from 180 to 160. And we were talking on the phone, and I'm like, oh, by the way, Alan, I'm down to 170. Because we talk about my workouts and that. He's very proud of me. And he goes, just think, Dad. Or no, it was 180. And he goes, just think, Dad, how you would look if you dropped down to 170. And I thought, And then when I dropped down to 160, I called him. I'm like, I'm at 160, and I remember what you said, how you would feel and how you would look if you were down to 170, because he always encouraged me, being very athletic himself, he always encouraged me to lose weight. Dad, you got to work out,
That's so great.
Like my wife encourages me. So now I can't go back. So I'm not going to drink. I'll still drink a beer.
Here and there, yeah.
Yeah, but not like before. And it's because I see what my body looks like now. And
people are very resistant to that one. Actually, on an episode that will come out after this one, but I recorded it earlier today, that same exact thing came up. And it was in Mike's episode, and I told Mike, it's one of the things that we get pushback on when we do challenges and stuff, and we have the drinking rules.
Yes.
And it's something that our members hate hearing, that I don't drink, Julian doesn't drink, Alex doesn't drink. Like, it's not what they want to hear. They want us to tell them that it's going to be okay.
It's okay to drink a beer twice a week.
And it is. I mean, I have fitness freedom, right?
Right.
Do what you want to do, but
right. If you want,
the more people you talk to who have cut it out, you'll hear the same thing over and over and over again.
It's life changing.
Yeah.
If getting alcohol out of your life.
Yeah. I think if we could get people in general just to stop drinking and maybe, cut it to just on special occasions. I mean, the health in general of just our population would
population
change dramatically.
Oh yeah.
Without changing anything else.
Well, the mindset also of the general population.
Well, that's a whole other podcast episode in itself.
Yeah, let's not go there.
They're not all of it. We don't have enough of you.
Yeah. Well, I try. I do what I do, and if I can get one person to start eating right and trying to do some exercise, that's enough for me. It doesn't have to be a family member. It can be anybody.
Because then that person influences one person, and that person influences one person. And I think you're doing such a good job.
I think it's my mission in life now. I have no other mission.
I mean, you're doing it. And when people see our workout, so without giving the workout away, describe it in like just as few words as possible for what people can look forward to for this week's vault when this comes out.
Look for a point in the workout where you're going to want to quit.
I know exactly what point you're talking about.
And it comes midway in the second round.
Yes.
Or the second set or whatever it was. And
we were both just like, oh no.
Yeah. And I remember, because I pick up on things, and I remember your new coach, Daniel Hong, he said one time, it's going to, not this vault workout, but there was another workout where it was clean and jerk. No, I think it was a vault workout. It was the first vault workout. Was there thrusters in the first vault workout or something like that?
Thrusters and devil press.
That was brutal. No, this was a different one. But he said, you're going to get it's going to get really hard to do the presses, but just hang on and just keep moving through them, and you'll be okay. You're going to get through it. And the hang on, I think, is what stuck to me. And you have to kind of sometimes hang on to these no matter how hard it is. And you can't breathe, and you just have to kind of control your breathing. And go ahead and take that break. And
there was a point in the workout, again, without giving it away, that Julian got 3 more reps out of you that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
I wouldn't have gotten them. I was, as they say, gassed. Yes. It was the end of the workout, and all of a sudden there's Julian in my right ear. Come on, John, you've got 10 seconds left, and I got 3 more reps because he said that. I wasn't going to do it. I looked at the clock and 10 seconds, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed hanging out with you the last few days and getting our workout and our little dance party in for the before and after the workout. And I just think that you're so inspirational, and
Thank you.
so many people look up to you, and you're just awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's it.